session with Finance with Dr. Ish on my live, and of course, as usual, I'm here to help you make better financial decisions, show you how to build wealth, and of course, make money the legitimate way and take care of all your finance questions and concerns. Now, if you remember yesterday, we're talking about the reason why you shouldn't start a business if you shouldn't quit and then start a business, the wrong reasons people make before they start a business. And of course, I got several questions in the DM, a few questions, and I said, okay, let me have a live today to address one of them. And one of the questions I was asked is, why do employees fail most of the times at business when they quit their job? And it's not even just about a question, it's also an observation. I remember in my career, while I was still in the bank, we had, quite a number of us were doing very well in the job. We were progressing, we were going on the career ladder. Then, along the line, maybe between my fifth year and 10th year as a banker, I had quite a lot of superior colleagues who were due for retirement and they needed to leave the banking sector, and they left and started their own business. Now, if you are the essence of this live session is to help you understand why, when people leave paid employment, why they fail when they want to start a business, or when they start a business, or why the business fails within the first 3 years. Now, the things I'm going to talk about are things you should take note of if you are intending to resign or quit your job this year or anytime soon. And this is not to say if you're tired of your job, if you feel it's too toxic, or there are so many issues that you can't resolve that you can't resign. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you can leave your job if you want. But if you're going to leave your job to start a business, you need to understand why other people who have left paid employment, why they fail as entrepreneurs. Now, most employees fail when they transition into business ownership for a lot of reasons. They struggle with, first of all, what I call the employee mindset. Now, the mindset of an employee and the mindset of an entrepreneur are two very different things. So it is geared towards stability, following others, specialized tasks. So when you're an employee, you are given instructions, you're told what to do, and you're told how to do it. But when you're an entrepreneur, the rules are entirely different. So this is the reason why the mindset of an employee and the mindset of an entrepreneur are two different things. And if that mindset doesn't change, it's going to be extremely difficult to see yourself as a business person. So one of the core reasons often lies in treating your business as a job. If you are an employee thinking of resigning from your job and you want to go into become an entrepreneur, if you do not get rid of that mindset of being an employee, then you're going to treat your business like a job. Let me explain. Now, normally, when you have a job, you are required to wake at a certain time of the day, right? You are required to resume at your job at a certain time of day. You are required to work for a specific amount of numbers or number of hours. But when you're an entrepreneur, nobody's going to tell you when to get out of the bed. Nobody's going to tell you how many hours you are going to have to work, right? And nobody's going to tell you, encourage you, and send you memos or send you queries and tell you you're not doing a good job or you're doing a good job. So the rules attached to being an employee are entirely different from the rules attached to being an entrepreneur. But let me first of all with the employee mindset. So, first of all, under the employee mindset, we have four basic things. One of it is waiting for directions. Employees are trained to wait for instructions. Employees are trained to follow instructions. Whereas an entrepreneur has to create his own path, right? So when you're an employee, if you are used to always following instructions, if you are used to always being told what to do, and you are unable to be a proactive thinker, think outside the box, stand on your own feet to think, it may be a bit difficult to run your own business. Now, that's one of the reasons under the employee mindset. Another one is the fear of risk. When you're an employee, to a certain extent, the risk of the business is on the owners of the business. Your job is to do their work, get a salary, and close for the day. But when you now become a business owner or an entrepreneur, the risk is all on you. So there's nothing like the risk is on. There's nobody else is sharing that risk with you. The risk is totally yours when you become a business owner. So if you're afraid of taking risk on your own, it may really be very difficult for you to thrive as a business owner. You may leave your job to decide to start your own business, but if you don't get rid of that mindset of taking risk, it might be difficult for you to run your own business. Because hey, if it goes south, if it goes bad, you can't blame anybody else but yourself. Now, under the employee mindset, we have what we call perfectionism versus speed. An employee would be ordered or asked to do the job perfectly, as against an entrepreneur or business person whose mindset is about speed to test a product. Because if you have a product idea or a service idea, as a business person, you wouldn't want to wait for it to be perfect. You would want to throw it out, test it in the market, and see how it goes, whether it goes well or not. Keep adjusting, keep making the tweaks before you perfect it. Unlike an employee who would rather want to do a perfect job. I mean, employee, you get paid for that level of perfection or attention to detail. And that's not to say as a business person you won't attend to detail. No. I'm just saying that as an employee, it works differently. Hi, Godson. You're welcome to my live. Good to see you. Where are you watching from? Hi. So, talking about the reason why employees fail when they quit their job to start a business. Hi. An employee is paid for the time they spend on the job. So when you get a job and let's say you work for 5 hours or 6 hours or 10 hours, you get paid for the amount of hours you work. But as a business person, you are going to find yourself, especially at the beginning of it all, working, working, and working. All right. You're going to be working for long hours without being told when to resume at work and when to stop. So those are the key things under the employee mindset, which is waiting for direction. As an employee, you would wait for direction. But when you're a business person, a business owner, you cannot sit down to wait for direction. You need to create your own path. As an employee, you are scared of risk. The risk belongs to the business owner. But when you're a business owner, the risk belongs to you. An employee also will be looking out for perfection, but a business owner needs to move with speed. So if you are the type that likes perfection, it may be difficult for you to migrate into being a successful business owner. Now, when you're an employee, you're working, your money, you're paid by the hour, how many hours you work. As a business owner, if you know that you cannot work for a long stretch of time, it's better you don't even get into at all because you're going to get stuck or tired. Now, another very important thing is to understand about what is called the lack of strategic focus. So, when you are a business owner, the thing is, in a company, when you're an employee, let me start with that. You are usually hear things like delegation of tasks. You don't get to do everything. You face only the task that is assigned to you. But when you are the owner of a business, you find out that you are practically doing everything, especially at the beginning. You could be the secretary, you could be the customer service, financial, you find out that you're taking on so many roles as against where you are an employee. So if you're the type that just wants to focus on only that task, then that may be a bit of a problem. Now, as an employee too, um, you may want to also find you may find it difficult delegating tasks. So that is also another area that you're also going to need to take care of. Now, when you're also starting a business, it's a bit difficult at the beginning to have a clear roadmap on how that business is going to be. You may have an idea, but failure to define your market and financial objections will put you in a lot of trouble. Now, a lot of employees have no idea about mapping out the financial, how do I put it, the financial projections, because for you it's just a job, you get paid, you leave, you have no stakes, you probably are not even a shareholder of the organization. But if you own a business, you are going to need to have a clear roadmap. Failing to have this roadmap can put your organization or your business into jeopardy. So this is one of the reasons why it's very important when you're a business person to have strategy, already have a cut out strategy before you leave your job. So the problem is most employees just have a passion for the business. They may have some capital they save for the business and they believe it's time to leave their job and go ahead and start the business. Now, another problem that employees have when they're starting a business is because that they have when of course when they leave the job they start a business and business fails is because they do not have enough financial management skills. It is very important. Now, you can be working for anyone, you can be an employee, and it may not really matter if you have financial management skills. If you don't have financial management skills, the company will come to an end because definitely what they'll just need to do is to recruit somebody that has financial management skills. But as a business owner, you need to understand what capital means. You need to understand what the capital means. You need to understand what sales means. You need to understand what marketing means. You need to understand what brand positioning means. You need to understand how much capital you need for the business. You need to have a budget. You need to be able to track the income that comes in from your company and what goes out. You need to understand how cash flow works. So if you have a poor cash flow management system, I mean, it's the company is dead on arrival, and that's why so many employees suffer because there's this statistics I saw that says 82% of startups fail due to poor management of incoming and outgoing money. I see so many organizations within the first year to the third year, or let's even say the first 5 years crash because they have poor financial management. They don't know how to manage their income, they don't know how to invest their income, and they don't know also how to take care of their products. In fact, a lot of young companies, organizations, even some established ones, spend in the wrong areas. A lot of them spend in the wrong areas. They spend where money is not needed, right? So what they do is they do a lot of like vanity items like branding, office space, getting beautiful chairs, all those very physical things that people can see, and then they pay less attention to the product itself, to the effectiveness of the product itself, to the solution that product can provide or the solution that service can provide. A lot of businesses that go bad prioritize funds on the wrong thing. They have poor financial management strategies. Like I said, the poor financial management strategies cover the area of on not understanding the terminologies that you need to know for a business. What is the capital? What should your cash flow be like? How do you track your income? How do you track what goes out? Who is your target audience? Who is your target market? What are the demographics of the clients you want to serve? How do you come about your pricing strategy? What is the cost implication of your products or your services? When you are starting your business, how much capital did you use in starting the business, and how much capital do you need to actually run the business? What do you spend your profit on? When the profit comes in, do you squander the profit? So these are part of the major issues a lot of companies face, and that is why people that are employees and are entrenched in that employee mindset. The point I'm trying to make is, if you're an employee and you want to actually own your own business, there's certain experience you need to get, there's certain training you need to get, and there's certain knowledge you need to acquire. And the mindset is the first step to be able to transition successfully to become a business owner. So if you're the type that the only time you can be effective is to wait for people's direction, then that can't work for you when you own a business. Because when you own a business, nobody's going to be telling you what to do. You have to create your own business path. So if you don't know how to do that, then you're going to have a problem. Then as an employee, the risk is for your company, the company paying you salary. But when you own a business, the risk is going to be on you. And then as an employee, your focus is going to be more on perfection. If you carry that perfection focus on the business, then it'll be difficult for you to even let your business survive for the first few years. Then when we are talking about trading time for money, when you're an employee, you work, you are paid according to how many hours you work. If you're a business owner, you should know that at the beginning stage, you're going to be putting in so much hours on into your business. Sometimes you may even work for over a day, 2 days without enough rest. So if you're not strong enough, determined, and you don't have the drive to manage a business for a long stretch of hours, then you're just going to fail on arrival, and that is just the fact. So if you're the type that you want to work for only 5 hours, 6 hours, 3 hours, you get tired easily, you get stressed out easily, you may not have enough patience and experience to run a business. Now, another problem people face is lack of strategy. Lack of strategy in not understanding how to finance your business, how much money your business actually needs, how to start your business with little or no capital. You don't have any idea on how to delegate tasks. Probably you have a problem in understanding how to be proactive. You don't even have a business plan. Before you leave paid employment to start a business, one of the first things you should do is to have what they call a business plan. You don't need to have the plan, but you can get someone to do a business plan for you and you review. So if you're leaving paid employment, apart from the fact that I always say you should have an emergency fund saved somewhere to take care of you for the next 6 months to a year, you should have a business plan. And a business plan is the roadmap that you're going to follow when you are starting a business at every point. Your business plan can have the phase one, phase two, phase three, phase four, and phase five. You don't need to do the business plan yourself. There are people out there that know how to create business plans for whatever industry. So if you don't have it, it's just like saying you are going out, you're going somewhere with an address, you don't know your way. The next thing you do is you do what? You get a Google map to show you the way. It's the same way a business plan works for a business. So as an employee, before you leave paid employment to start a business, you must have a business plan. You must have a clear roadmap. There must be clarity on the kind of products you want to serve and the services you want to serve, who you want to serve them for. So it's not about getting yourself a beautiful logo, beautiful brand colors, getting yourself complimentary card, registering your business with the government. Running a business is much more than that. And I always advise, if you're starting a business as an employee, start small so that your risk is small. Then you can start scaling once you understand the business properly. All right. So new founders get trapped in more of administrative duties than sales, than making revenue. Once you are starting a business, your focus should not be just perfection. Your focus should be revenue generation and tracking of your expenses. Once you don't track your expenses, you're going to be spending your profits and spending every other thing, and then you run out of capital. As a business, you should always have emergency funds, a buffer to take care of your business. JD, can you help me disconnect the laptop, please? So that's yes, pause everything. Open the tabs one by one and pause. Yes. So now I was talking about financial management, which basically means understanding the amount of capital your business needs, understanding the kind amount of capital your business needs to run effectively, and understanding the cash flow, proper cash flow. Many startups have failed due to poor management of funds. Why? Because sometimes business owners who were formerly employees, when they make money, when they see money coming in, they get paid for products and services, they imagine the entire money is to be spent. No. Whenever you're making income for your business, a certain part of the money is supposed to be kept as an emergency buffer for your business. A certain amount of money is supposed to be put back into the business to help your business grow. And this is another reason why many end up spending money on wrong areas. Fancy items, fancy chairs, fancy cars, fancy buildings, and probably employing so many people that they actually cannot afford to pay. So another problem that a lot of employees who run into business without doing proper research or having a business plan or roadmap is their inability to adapt. Now, imagine someone who has worked as an employee for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Already there's a certain mindset he or she would already have in terms of procedures. But for an entrepreneur, you must constantly think outside the box because you have competitors doing exactly the same kind of business. Now, most times when you want to start a business, the best thing is to always have what they call a SWOT analysis. Now, SWOT analysis helps you to know the strength of your business, the weakness of your business, the operating manner of your business, the threats to your business. These things are very crucial. How strong is your business? Who are the people that you are selling to? Why are you selling to them? What problem is your business solving? What problem is your product solving? What problem is your service solving? Where are your target market? Where is the place to find your target market? What is the cheapest possible way to generate visibility for your business or for your brand? Those are the very crucial questions you need to ask yourself as an employee if you decide you want to go into a business. But I can tell you for a fact, the good majority of people who were employees and went into businesses failed because they mismanaged their funds. It's just basically due to poor financial management because some of them didn't never even conquered how to manage their own personal finance. And when I mean personal finance, I mean their salaries, their income, the money is coming into them daily. Another problem is failing to listen to feedback of your customers, then clinging to your original idea of the problem you want to solve. If you have decided you have passion for a business, you want to start a particular business, and this is the problem you want to solve, this is the product you want to create, or this is the service you want to create, as a business owner, you have to have a high level of flexibility. And that flexibility comes when you pay attention to feedback from your customers. You must be in touch with your customers in terms of the products that are working well and the products that are not working well. However, even if it is negative feedback, it is still a message for you to work on. Another problem some business owners have is inability to handle rejection. They are used to working as employees, and because you've worked as an employee for a long time, it's like a routine. You are so good in a particular thing, but understanding that in business you don't get perfect in business overnight. It's not a one day way of getting perfect, because the truth is essentially transition requires mindsets to shift from executing tasks to building systems. So that's just the summary. So the first thing is you need to understand that your mindset has to change. That you have, if you want to leave paid employment, if you want to stop being an employee, stop working for anyone, and you want to start your own business, the first thing you need to attack is the mindset. You have to first of all erase that employee mindset, because the employee mindset is the mindset of waiting for directions. As an employee, you get told what to do, you're given a job description, you're given an offer letter, and you face only your job, right? But as a business owner, you practically get to have to be involved in everything. You need to know how to run the business, you need to know how to run the money, you need to track the money coming in. You cannot follow instructions anymore. You have to create a career, create a path for your own business. If also you are not good in taking risk and you prefer for your company to take the risk, then you may not be the right fit to be a business owner or an entrepreneur. If you are too much of a perfectionist too as an employee, then you may not just be the right thing to own your own business. It's better you invest in other people's businesses than starting yours, because there's nothing like a perfect business, really. You grow over time, you learn over time, right? And as an employee, remember you get to work a specific amount of hours. When you're a business owner, you work sometimes practically around the clock. So those mindset changes need to happen. And of course, we have the issue of the lack of strategic planning, strategic focus. You have no idea on the basics, right? You're doing more of administrative duties than chasing the sale, chasing the improvement of the product, understanding what your competition is doing, pricing strategy, visibility strategy, failing to delegate, and then the worst of it all is not even having a business plan. Many times employees just go into businesses with only passion and a little bit of money and expecting that the customers are going to flow in. Newsflash, sometimes you start a business, you're going to be on the business for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Sometimes you may not even have enough clients, you may not even make enough money to feed yourself or maybe take care of your needs. Which is why I always say before you go into a business, make sure that your other incomes or your salaries, you have saved enough to take care of you for the next 6 months to 1 year, because some businesses need like a year or 2 years to stabilize. So if you leave paid employment to start a business and you are starting with only passion, passion is not enough to make a business successful. You must have a very strategic and intentional business plan. You must learn and understand the necessary things you need for that business to thrive. You must have business mentors, coaches, or people you look up to that have already started that same line of business with you to help you grow. And your financial management system must make sense. You must never underestimate the capital you need. You must never underestimate the capital that you need to run your business or start a business. It's even better that you have surplus, right? A poor cash flow management system is also part of what kills a lot of startup companies. They don't know how to track the monies coming in and the monies going out. They don't even understand what profit and loss means. They don't even understand what a business financial statement means or how to run it. And I'm not saying you have to be an accountant student or a lawyer to run a business, but you need to partner with people that know these things and learn the basics, right? And of course, spending on wrong assets is one of the very major problems a lot of new business owners face, people that leave employment to start their own business. You also have to be able to think outside the box, be proactive, know what your competitors are doing, and have the ability to adapt. So, as an employee, you must have the ability to adapt and take risk before going into any business, but calculated risk. You have to be able to handle rejection because you may be so passionate about that business, and when you start the business you find out that people don't really need what you have to sell. Then what happens? Your business closes up, you go back to paid employment. Time wasted, money wasted, motivation wasted. Then you also have to be very good at listening to feedback. There may be rejection, yes, but you have to be able to take rejection so that you can go back to the drawing board and get it right. So thank you much for staying with me this far. I remain Dr. Ish, and this is my channel, Financial Dr. Ish. I look forward to hearing your comments, and I'll be seeing you live in another session again tomorrow. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you same time tomorrow in another live session where I teach you how to manage your finance, manage your wealth, and how to make smart financial decisions. Thank you guys. See you live tomorrow. Bye.